welcome. And if you've been here before, welcome back. If you guys can't hear me, please let me know in the chat. And if you can't hear me, then say hi. So today's message isn't just for y'all, it's for me too. Everything I'm about to preach to y'all, I'm really preaching to myself because what actually inspired this message was a situation that I'm actually currently in. If you didn't get my live last, oh yeah, I didn't even go live last Sunday because I had a lot going on. And then Sunday night, I got into a car accident. Somebody rear-ended me on the freeway, and it was a hit and run. It was a hit and run, but I got the license plate number, the vehicle. I was even able to find out who the owner was, their insurance company, everything. So I filed a claim on their insurance, but I don't know what to expect because it was a hit and run. I highly doubt that the person's going to be honest and be like, "Yeah, I hit her. Yeah, I rear-ended her and drove off." Even though with a rear-end collision, it's it's hard to dispute the other person was at fault because I was rear-ended. But yeah, I'm not gonna lie. I've been worried and concerned about what the outcome of that is going to be. I still, even though I filed the claim with the person's insurance, I still don't know who was driving. I don't know if it was somebody on the policy or if it was somebody that wasn't on the policy. Maybe that's why they drove off. But it was a brand new BMW, a BMW truck, BMW X3, brand new. So in my mind, I'm like, why did they drove off? Why did they drive off? Because they probably have insurance on a brand new truck. I'm pretty sure they have insurance. So why didn't they just do the right thing? Like, did they really think I wasn't going to remember their license plate number? Like, probably because a lot of people don't. Like, unfortunately, here in Atlanta, hit and runs are pretty common. It's so unfortunate, but I've heard so many stories of other people having hit and runs and not getting the person's license plate. But I was determined. I was self-determined because prior to that person hitting me, I saw them in my rearview mirror speeding, switching lanes, going around people. So as soon as they switched into my lane, boom, they rear-ended me. And I knew it was coming because, like I said, prior to them rear-ending me, I saw them in my rearview mirror speeding around other cars, switching lanes. And that's exactly how they ended up hitting me. But yeah, what is inspiring this message today, me saying God will make a way, stop worrying, it's not just for y'all, it's for me too. Because, like I said, I've been kind of worried about, the situation that I'm in right now with it being a hit and run. Not only that, I actually have pain from the accident. I've been dealing with effects from the accident, which is crazy because right after it happened, I felt fine. But then a few days after the accident, that's when I started feeling pain. And I actually want to apologize if the lighting isn't the best. It's because I have to make sure I'm sitting my back against something. That's why I have this pillow behind me. Because I've been having lower back pain ever since that accident. Like, I've been having to see a chiropractor. That person really negatively affected my life. They don't even realize how much they negatively affected my life. And not even just from them hitting me, but from them not doing the right thing and pulling over like a decent human and giving me their insurance information. So yeah, it's really been stressful. And yeah, for the past week, I've been going through it because that happened exactly a week ago. I've been going through it. As you can see, my nails, I need my nails done. And it's not because I don't have the money, it's because I haven't had the time because I've been dealing with all this accident stuff. Like, I even have an attorney. But yeah, enough about, I don't want to keep dwelling or like complaining about the situation I'm in because, like I said, this message is not just for y'all, it's for me. And when I was like worrying about my situation, God reminded me of all the times in the past that He came through for me. He reminded me of situations where I had the same fear what's going to happen? What's going to be the outcome? Me fearing the worst case scenario, thinking the worst, doom and gloom, only for God to prove to me that I had nothing to worry about. Only for me to look back and laugh because I'm like, girl, you was stressing and worrying for no reason, not realizing God was going to work it all out. There's so many times. And today I'm going to share 3 personal stories of when I didn't see how God was going to make a way. I expected the worst case scenario. I was worried out of my mind. God shut me up in a good way. He shut me up and made me realize I was stressing over nothing. I was worrying about nothing. God had it under control the whole time. So, the first story, and I was in high school, and I've actually told this story before. So, if you've heard it already, I'm sorry, but I feel like it's relevant to today's message. But back when I was in high school, when I was a senior in high school, somebody stole $1,000 in cash from me. $1,000 in cash. And I was working at Taco Bell and I saved up money because I was really trying to get a car. And I had $1,200 saved up. And I was telling like my elders, because they were like, well, Kyla, what kind of car do you want? Like, how much do you want to spend? Blah, blah, blah. And I was like, oh, well, I just want to use Honda Civic and I only want to pay $1,000 for it. And they were like, $1,000 for a Honda Civic? You ain't gonna find a good running car for $1,000, period, let alone a Honda. And this was back in 2011, so prices were completely different than they are now. But even back then, only paying $1,000 for a car, like a good running used car, that wasn't really common. But in my mind, that was the number that I was okay with spending. So I was telling my elders, like, yeah, I just want to use Honda Civic for $1,000. And can you please say from I love you so much? I'm not sure what you're trying to say because it was a couple of typos, but hi, welcome. Oh yeah, but I was just like, I don't want to spend more than $1,000 and I want to use Honda Civic. And everybody was like, well, Kyla, that's not realistic. Why don't you put $1,000 down as a car payment on a car and do it that way? So I was like, you know what? Maybe they're right. Maybe I'm not being realistic. So, like I said, I had $1,200 and I was about to go to this car lot. It was this Ford Taurus that I like test drove, and I was like, well, I'm desperate to get a car, so I'm gonna just get this little Ford Taurus. And they wanted $7,000 for it. Mind you, the car was only worth 4,000. But I was just so anxious and eager and desperate that I was like, I'm not gonna get a used Honda Civic for $1,000. So I'm gonna just go ahead and get this Ford Taurus and put $1,000 down as a down payment and just make payments. I kid you not. I took the money out. I took all $1,200 out in cash. And I went to work. I was working at Taco Bell at the time. And the next morning I went to school. And when I went to lunch, I pulled out my wallet. And as soon as I looked in my wallet, I was like, this doesn't look like $1,200. So I started counting. I'm like, I'm counting. I'm like, this is only $200. This is only $200. I'm confused. Where is the other 1,000? So I go to my locker. I'm rummaging through my locker. I don't see the money. I go home after school. I go home. I'm looking all over the apartment. Don't see my money anywhere. I even check my account because I'm like, did I really take the full 1,200 out? Maybe I only took 200 out. I check my account, $0. So at this point, I realized, Kyla, somebody stole that $1,000, and I'm pretty sure it's so fucked up and it's so pathetic. But I'm pretty sure it was the manager. Excuse me, I need some water in my voice. I'm 99% sure It was the manager that was working that night. Because me and him were the only ones working for like 3 hours. There was nobody else there. And obviously, he's a manager. He's going to be in the office more than I am. And that's where my purse was. So I'm pretty sure he was the one who stole it, but I just couldn't prove it. But yeah, at this point, I'm hysterical. I'm crying. I call my mom. I'm like, oh my God, why would God let this happen? I was so distraught. I'm like, why would God let this happen, Mom? She was like, don't blame this on God. This happened because you weren't patient. I told you not to rush and get a car, but just to keep saving up your money and just be patient. And look what happened. And even though a part of me was like, damn, that's fucked up. Why would you say that? Another part of me knew that she was right. I knew she was right because that's the thing. I didn't even really want that car. I wanted a used Honda Civic, and I definitely didn't want to spend that much money. So even though I felt like it was the end of the world, little did I know it was a blessing in disguise. God was setting me up. Because let me tell you what happened. A month later, I miraculously got $1,200 again. Literally, I got the same amount of money that I had before all that money was stolen. I had $1,200 because that was when I graduated. So I got graduation money, and then I like saved some of my own money again. A month later, and even though like I had $1,200 again, for some reason I wasn't like in a rush to get a car. Like, of course, I was still looking at cars on like Craigslist, but I didn't have that like desperation. I wasn't like, I need a car, I need a car. Like, I was just like, I'll get a car when I get it. I'm not even worried about that. I'm gonna just keep stacking my money and I'll get a car when I get a car. So boom. I'm working at my new job. By the way, I got a new job from Taco Bell. I started working at this call center where I was making $5 more an hour. So that was another blessing right there. I left the job where somebody at that job stole my money, left that job, and got an even better job making $5 more an hour. So, boom, I'm working at my new job. My uncle in law keeps calling me back to back, back to back. And I'm like, dude, I just started at this job. Like, I can't be on my phone. So I text him and I'm like, yo, what do you want? Like, I'm at work right now. Like, I can't answer the phone. He was like, well, as soon as you get off, you need to call me because this is lady who wants to sell you her 1999 Honda Civic for $1,000. As soon as he texted me that, I was like, oh, okay, cool. I was like, I'll buy it. I didn't even look at the car. I didn't even test drive it. All I needed to know was a used Honda Civic for $1,000. I knew that was God. I didn't even question it. I wasn't even like, well, I need to go get it checked out first. No, I knew in that moment that's what God wanted me to wait for. That's why God let that $1,000 get stolen from me. Because he knew the exact thing that I wanted was right around the corner. I just had to be patient and trust him. Even though, as an 18-year-old in high school that's pretty much taking care of herself, having $1,000 stolen from you, that's tragic. Shit, some people might say even having $1,000 stolen from them now is tragic. So I felt like it was the end of the world. And I didn't see how God could make a way, but he did. He did. He gave me exactly what I wanted, even though I didn't think it was possible, even though it didn't seem realistic, according to everybody else. Everybody was telling me, Kyla, you're not going to get a used car for only $1,000, let alone a Honda. And guess what? I did. God made it happen, even though it didn't seem realistic, even though I couldn't see a way. There's no way I could predict that my uncle in law was going to randomly hit me up like, hey, it's this lady that wants to sell you her Honda Civic for $1,000. Because the dealership, they were only willing to give her 500. And she was like, man, if I could just find somebody that'll buy it right now for $1,000, you cannot tell me that wasn't God. That was God's orchestration. So, boom, let's move to the second story. Y'all know my voice be giving out when I be talking a lot, especially because my anxiety. I be losing my breath. So give me a second. Let me. Mm, ooh, let me quench my vocal cords. But yeah, so the second story, I got into a car accident. 2015, I got into a car accident. And I wasn't at fault. I wasn't at fault. I was driving through the intersection, driving just straight through the light. And this lady coming from the opposite direction, she was making a left turn. So I had a green light. She had a green light. If you're making a left turn, unless you have a green arrow, you can turn on green, but you have to wait for the other cars to, go past first. She didn't do that. All I remember was driving through the intersection and boom, I'm trying to like illustrate it. I'm driving through the intersection. She's coming from the opposite direction, but she made a left turn in front of me. So, long story short, I woke up in the hospital. I woke up in the hospital freaking out because I didn't remember how I got there. I didn't remember what happened. So I had a bunch of my family surrounding me and they're like, calm down, Kyla, you got into a car accident. And I'm like, what? I got into a car accident. And they were just filling me in on everything. And I'm like, is my car still drivable? They're like, we don't know. Like, because we didn't go to the scene of the accident. We just came to the hospital. So I'm just distraught. I'm just going through it. Come to find out, my car was totaled. So I'm really distraught because I'm like, oh my God, I'm gonna have to get a new car. I only have liability. I know that I wasn't in the wrong, but here I am at the hospital, and the police came and gave me a ticket. They gave me a red light ticket, even though they have no proof that I ran a red light, nor did anybody witness me run a red light. I know for a fact I didn't run a red light because I had a green light. I was just driving through the intersection. So I was even more distraught because I'm like, how can the police give me a red light ticket when they don't even have proof that I ran a red light? They didn't witness me run a red light, nor did they see me on camera running a red light or anything. What they did, which was, I still think is so fucked up to this day. I guess because later on, because like I said, I had a concussion. So I didn't even remember being in an accident. I didn't even remember what happened. Anything that happened anything that happened like weeks prior to the accident, when I first got into the accident because I had a concussion, I didn't remember any of that. So my concussion was so bad. I'm sitting here telling my family, call my boyfriend, tell him to come to the hospital. And they're like, Kyla, we called Jason, which was my ex-boyfriend's name. They're like, we called Jason, but he's not your boyfriend anymore. Y'all broke up like a couple months ago. So then I'm even more distraught. So I'm like, what? Like, we broke up when? Like, that's how bad my concussion was. But long story short, the police came to the scene of the accident. They asked her side of the story. She's like, "Oh, I was turning left. I had a green arrow," which she didn't, because you can't have a green arrow if I have a green light and I'm coming from the opposite direction. But anyways, she was like, yeah, I had a green arrow, so," and she just like, came in front of me. Then they came to me and asked me my side of the story. And because I had a concussion, because I was really fucked up from that car accident, I was really messed up. That's how I ended up in the hospital. But right after the accident happened, I had a concussion and all. They were sitting here trying to ask me my side of the story, asking me what happened. So when they asked me like what happened, I was like, I don't know, I don't know. I'm like crying. I'm like, I don't know, I don't know. I don't even know what day it is. I don't know where I am. I don't know. Like I didn't know anything because again, I had a concussion. And even on a police report, they said that I was incoherent and disoriented. So it's like if I'm incoherent and disoriented, and even on the police report it said other drivers seemed to have a concussion and they had to end up calling the ambulance to take me to the hospital. Why would you just go off the other person's story without knowing my side of the story? And why would you even be trying to ask me my side of the story when I literally have a concussion? Like, I shouldn't be talking to nobody. So, yeah, I was stressed out. Needless to say, I was stressed out. And on top of that, I was thinking about y'all forced me to go to the hospital and they made me stay overnight. So I'm thinking about the hospital bill. I'm like, yo, I know this hospital bill is about to be crazy. And I only have liability. And I don't know if she's going to be held accountable. So what's going to end up happening with this hospital bill? Because I already knew it was going to be an arm and a leg because I stayed overnight. And I had an ambulance and everything. So long story short, I finally get the hospital bill. That hospital bill was $22,000. When I opened that and saw that my balance was 22,000, I passed out. I didn't really pass out, but I was overwhelmed. I was crying. I'm like, "Why, Lord? Why would you let this happen? Like, I didn't do anything wrong." Like, I was so distraught. And I was so worried. I was worried sick. Like, how am I going to pay this $22,000? And on top of that, even though I knew I wasn't in the wrong, I kind of accepted like her insurance company probably wasn't going to end up paying anything. And I only had liability. So I'm like, I'm going to have to pay out of pocket to get a new car. But thankfully, around the time that the accident happened, right before the accident happened, I got a big bonus from my job. A really big bonus, which allowed me to be able to afford getting a new car. So that worked out. But then on top of that, like I said, I still had to worry about this hospital bill. And on top of that, I was worried about my insurance. Even though I know most likely there, I had a feeling her insurance company wasn't going to take responsibility, but I didn't want to be the one that I didn't want them to come back and be like, "Oh, well, based on our investigation, we found you to be the one at fault." I didn't want that to happen because I'm like, if I'm the one found at fault for this accident, my insurance premium is going to go up. And I don't, if I was the one at fault and I knew I was at fault, I would just take that L. I would just eat that. I would just take that L. But because I know I did not run a red light, I'm like, no, I don't want my insurance to go up. So because even though I got a red light, or I got a red light, even though they wrongfully gave me a red light ticket, I was worried because I'm like, is that going to make the insurance company be like, oh, well, you were at fault then? But my insurance company was like, no, they still have to do an investigation. So they go off your side of the story and they go off her side of the story and, pull whatever facts, from the accident. So, long story short, I want to say it was probably like 6 months after the accident because I think it's called an arbitrator or something, pretty much like a mediator. They had to get somebody else involved to try to determine who was at fault. Long story short, even though I keep saying that, but then it's not really short. But long story short, neither of us, they pretty much, their investigation, they were like, we can't prove who was at fault, so we're not going to hold anybody accountable. You have to pay for your stuff and you have to pay for your stuff. At this point, I already had a new car. So I was like, it is what it is. I already paid cash for another car. But I was just happy. I'm like, yes, thank God. I wasn't the one found at fault. And then I didn't have to worry about, my insurance going up. So I was so happy. I was so thankful. But again, I still had to worry about this $22,000 hospital bill. But guess what? I didn't have to worry about it because that was back when I had a 9 to 5 and I was working full time, so I had health insurance. Because and I didn't know this. I guess if you get into a car accident and you don't have the coverage on your car insurance, or if the other party, if the other party involved, their insurance company doesn't cover your hospital bills, that's when your health insurance kicks in. So my health insurance with my job ended up paying most of that hospital bill. Most of that $22,000 was paid by my health insurance, with the exception of $800. They sent me something in the mail. They're like, your health insurance paid off most of the balance, but you still owe us 800. So I'm like, well, I'm glad I don't gotta pay the 22,000, but at the same time, 800, that's still a little steep for me right now. So my aunt, she was like, just write them. I think she called it I think it's called a hardship letter or letter of hardship or something. She was like, just write the hospital a letter telling them you can't afford to pay it and ask them to forgive it. Tell them, like, why you can't afford it, da, 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 and just ask them to forgive it. And in my mind, I'm like, bruh, that's not gonna work. Like, that shit is not gonna work. If I just tell them, like, hey, I can't afford to pay this bill, can you erase it? But I was like, you know what? I don't have nothing to lose. So I went ahead and wrote them a letter, like telling them, like, hey, I got into a car accident. I had to pay cash to get a brand new car. I'm gonna be honest, I can't afford to pay this hospital bill. Will you guys forgive it? Will you erase the debt? I kid you not. A few weeks later, they sent me something in the mail saying, your balance is $0. We have completely erased your debt, your hospital debt. I was like, wow. So that shit actually worked. And after it was all said and done, I was just looking back and I'm like, thank you, God. Thank you. Because when I was in the midst of it, everything just felt so dark. I honestly, I thought the worst was going to happen. And even though the best didn't happen, because ideally, I would have wanted her to be held accountable. Because I know I didn't run a red light. But aside from that, everything else worked out. Me crying and stressing, it was all for no reason. Like, I was really thinking, like, oh, I'm gonna have to pay this $22,000 hospital bill. Oh my god, like, I'm gonna be in debt forever. Like, girl, you didn't even have to pay anything. Even the $800 they was trying to make you pay, you didn't even have to end up paying that. So yeah, I was in another situation where I was so worried, and God proved to me that I had nothing to worry about, and He made a way even when I couldn't see one. So the last story that I want to share with you guys is another car accident story. I have PTSD when it comes to car accidents because I've been in quite a bit of fender benders, but I can't talk. I've been in two major car accidents prior to the one that I was just recently in. This happened back in 2019. Again, wasn't my fault. Somebody else hit me. Again, driving through the intersection, and they just turned. It was literally the same as the last accident. But this time, the guy, as soon as he got out the car, he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Like, oh, I'm so sorry. I should have been paying attention. Surprisingly, he took accountability. He said, like, I was at fault. Like, when the police came, he told the police, like, I was at fault. I turned in front of her. I was like, well, thank God. And I'm like, well, I need your insurance information, and he gave me his insurance information, right? Come to find out, this nigga didn't have insurance. He did not have active insurance. The insurance information he gave me was from a policy that already expired. So I call his insurance and try to file a claim. And that's when I found out. So I'm distraught. I'm like, here we go again. My car is totaled. And this guy, he admitted that he hit me, but he also doesn't have insurance. I was just stressed out. Now, thankfully, let me tell you how good God is. Probably like a couple months prior to that, because I used to strictly only have liability. But a couple months prior to that accident, something in my spirit told me to get uninsured motorists. I don't know why, just something in my spirit told me you need to get uninsured motorists. You don't have to get full coverage on your car. Like, me personally, I feel like if you have an older car, especially if it has high mileage, I don't feel like, me personally, I'm not saying what other people should do, because I mean, I guess you could say it is smart to do, but I feel like if the car is really old and it has high mileage, I'm not going to get full coverage. I'm not going to get collision. I'm going to just try to drive as careful as possible and get coverages that would cover me if somebody else hit me, but they didn't have insurance. So a couple months prior to that accident, something told me to get uninsured motorist, and I did. And I'm so happy I did because guess what? Since he hit me and he took responsibility, he admitted to the police I was the one in the wrong, even though he didn't have insurance. That's when my uninsured motorist kicked in, and my insurance company ended up cutting me a check for my car, and that's how I was able to get a new car. And I remember prior to me getting the outcome, prior to my insurance company saying like, "Yeah, we're gonna cut you a check," I was worried in that situation. I was worried in that situation because I'm like, even though I have uninsured motorists and he didn't have insurance and he hit me, I just didn't know what to expect because even though at the scene of the accident he was saying that he was at fault, I didn't know if he was going to try to switch up. I mean, I guess he couldn't because like he already told the police he was at fault. But also another thing that I was worried about, I'm like, what if that wasn't his car? Like, what if he was driving somebody else's car? Like, I just with insurance companies, you can never fully trust them, even if it's your own insurance. You can never fully trust them because sometimes they be having little rules and stuff to not to be to have an excuse not to pay you. So I was worried with that situation because I'm like, I need a car. Like, I need a car. My car is not drivable right now. So I'm like, I need y'all, if y'all are gonna cut me a check, I need y'all to cut me a check ASAP because I don't have a car right now. But yeah, it they surprisingly everything got resolved super quick. I want to say they cut me a check probably like a week after the accident, maybe even less than that. But everything worked out in that situation. And I remember being so worried. I was sick to my stomach. And I'm just like, God, why would you let this happen? Why would you let this happen? Like, I ain't gonna lie. The little fender benders I've got into, a lot of times I was at fault when it came to like little fender benders, like real minor stuff. But whenever I would get into these major accidents, it was always somebody else's fault. So I'm like, God, why would you let this happen? Why would you do this? Why? I don't understand. But like I said, he would always work things out. Even though I was worried sick and just thinking worst case scenario, he always ended up working things out in every situation. He ended up working things out. He ended up making sure I was good. And here's the thing, worrying won't make a way, but trusting God will. Worrying about something ain't going to stop something bad from happening, and it ain't going to make something good happen. But trusting God will. Even when you can't see a way, God can still make a way. And that's the thing. It's not meant for you to see a way. That's above your pay grade. That's above your pay grade. You gotta leave that up to God. You gotta leave the how up to God. You gotta leave the where up to God. You gotta leave the when up to God. None of that is in your control, and it's not meant to be. Your only job is to trust. And that's what I'm constantly having to remind myself every day. Like I said, I'm currently in a situation right now where I still don't know who the hell was driving. The car that hit me that night, I still don't know who the driver was. So I've been having worries like, what if that person wasn't on the policy? And then the insurance company is like, well, since they weren't on the policy, we're not going to pay anything. Or what if the person was on a policy, but they just lie and be like, she's lying. I never hit her. Did I? Like, I don't know what to expect with that situation. Um, Guess what? I'm not worried about it. I'm giving it to God. I'm letting go and letting God. Whatever the outcome is, I'm going to be good. I'm going to be good. Whatever the outcome is. Not just if the outcome goes in my favor and exactly how I want it to be. No, I'm going to be good regardless. Even if shit don't go my way, I'm still going to bounce back. That's how great my God is. And that's how strong my faith is. And it took a lot for me to get to this point. And even sometimes I still be tripping. Like I said, this past week, I've been going through it because of this damn accident. But I'm good now because I'm reminded of who my God is and how big my God is. And He's your God too. So I pray that this message blessed you in some way. And if it did, please make sure you like it and make sure you subscribe. And I'll see y'all soon. Bye.